Hi everyone, so I'm back again to do another video for you. It's been a couple of weeks since I last did one, but I thought I'd do something different this time. Rather than doing flowers, I'm going to show you how I make shoes. So I'm going to show you some examples of some shoes that I've done. So I'm just going to lower my camera down a little bit so you can see what I'm showing you. So these are all closed-toed shoes that I've got. This is one here. This one's got diamantes on the front, and then I've used moulds on the back of the shoe on the upper. You need to make templates to do things like this, because even if you buy sets you don't have all these pieces in. Just get rid of that one. Then we've got another one here where I've used embossers on this one to do the detail on the front, and then I've hand painted that in, and I've done that around the back of the shoe as well. And then we've got one here that I've done with the diamante heels, and that has a little diamante brooch on the front, and this one has a strap on the front, and I've done a little buckle on the diamante buckle on the front of that. Obviously a lot of these things that we use on shoes are not edible, so I mean they're not meant to be eaten, aren't these sort of things? These are meant to be kept afterwards. So I'll just go down to my board now so you can see what I'm doing here. Right, so what I've got here is I've got part of a set that I've got. I couldn't find all of the pieces, so I've had to improvise a bit here. But sometimes you may need to go online to do things. I've made a template here that I downloaded from a class that I did on Craftsy, which is for the back of the shoe. I have somewhere got the plastic one like this, and then I've got a sole cutter, a sole template rather, and this one is used for the front of the shoe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an open fronted shoe. I've already done part of it so far with this one, so what I'm going to do is in another colour I'm going to show you how I got there. Now the most important thing that you do need really, that does come in very handy, is a heel mould. If you haven't got a heel mould, then you'd have to do this by hand. But remember that although the back part of the heel, which I've got one here that's already dried, is round, the front part facing your sole is flat. Now there's two ways that you can do your heel. You can either do it all in one colour like that, or you can do it in white, and then you can cover the shoe. If you wanted to do a textured heel, say if you were doing a snakeskin shoe, which I haven't brought in today but I have got one, and then I would do that separately and cover the heel as well as doing the upper part of the shoe as well. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to show you how I made the heel. Now you need to mess around a little bit with this. I know that's not a very good word for sugarcraft, but the reason for that is you need to find out how much paste you're going to need in your mould to get the right finish. So what I do is start by packing the paste in and then taking it out again. I'm just going to do this in white this time because I am going to do another video with something a bit different. I thought I'd do 2 or 3 videos because there's different kinds of shoes that you can do. Like a platform shoe, platform soled shoe, and a boot. I haven't brought the boot in today, but I will do when I do the next video. So start off by getting your paste going. Right, so what I do is I start off by first of all trying to get partially the shape of the shoe. So obviously, because it's narrow down here, we don't want a lot of paste going into there, so I make that fairly narrow. Obviously that's going to be too big, but I'm starting at first of all by getting the paste into that part, and then gradually work your way up, packing your paste into the mould. I think I've got too much there. I'm just packing it all in until we get the right amount in your mould that you need. Now the reason I'm doing this, it sort of helps to try and eliminate getting any cracks in your paste when you've got it all in, if you've got the right amount to put in the first place. So if you sort of work out, get any excess off and just feed that into your mould. See, it looks a bit rough at the moment, but when I've done it the next time it goes in, it'll go in smoother. So I think we've got more or less enough paste there. I'm getting my tongue stuck at the moment, aren't I? I do tend to talk to myself when I'm doing things, people, so please ignore it. And don't forget, while I'm doing this, as I come back to, and I keep telling you every time we do these videos, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's free. And if you've got any comments about anything that I'm doing, or anything that you'd like to know about products or whatever I'm using, or if you've got any ideas for any videos that you'd like to see me do, then please get in touch and let me know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and basically get the shape before it goes back into the mould this time. So this time it's hopefully going to go in fairly smoothly. If you keep your mould at the side, you can sort of more or less see where it's going to go, so then we can put that back in there. And what I'm going to do to make sure it comes out easily, I'm going to dust it. I don't always do this because there's two ways you can do it. You can dust your mould. Another way of making sure that you get things out of moulds, especially if you're doing something really fine, is to, when you get your paste into your mould and you've got it all smoothed off nicely, pop it in your freezer for about 10 minutes. And then you'll find that it should come out easier because it's going to firm up in the freezer. So I'm going to ease that back into the mould now. Work the paste up. Make sure you're filling it all and then it's level to the top of the mould as near as you can. A little bit of excess there, we just need to work that up. And just spend a bit of time smoothing it out to make sure you've got it in neatly. Make sure you don't bowl this out at the top, you want that to be flat, so just make sure you press on that to make sure that that is flat, because that can affect when you put your sole on your shoe. Sorry there, I went a bit off piece because the shoe that I've made, the sole is still quite delicate on it, that I've already done, and I just wanted to make sure that it stayed in place when I start putting all the other pieces on it. Right, so once you've done that and you've got that nice and smooth, then you can ease your heel out of the mould. I always start with the smallest part first and drop that out. And then you can get your finger in then and ease it out. Try not to stretch it when you're doing that. Like that, and make sure that that goes flat onto wherever you're going to get it. Make sure you get it straight, because sometimes they distort a bit when you're taking them out of the mould. Now with it, when I'm doing it in white like this, what I would do with that is I would cover that, which I'll do in the next video. I'll cover in the heel as well. So what you do now is put that to one side to dry, and you'll also see on these, if you get the moulds, that you've got that piece at the bottom which is the heel tip at the bottom there, which you can paint afterwards when you colour your heel. So we'll just get rid of that out of the way. So the next thing that we need to do now is to make the sole and fix it to the heel. Now for this I'm swapping colours onto another colour, because I've always got bits and pieces going and I didn't want to do them all the same colour. That's the reason why I've got different colours here, so that I can do different shoes to show you some different ideas. Right, we'll just put that white paste away. Make sure you keep your paste covered, don't let it dry out. Now the colour that I've used for colouring this pink is it's a sugar fly colour, and it's called Dusky Pink or Wine. If you wanted to do a deeper colour, it comes up to that sort of colour, but I've done it in a lighter shade for this. So we'll just get that working again, get it softened up. Now, like you do with your flowers, we need to grease the surface of your board so that your paste sticks on it just while you're rolling it out, because like I've said before, don't keep picking it up and moving it around. Roll your paste out on your board and don't move it around. It's not like pastry where you lift it up and turn it round, or sugar paste when you're covering a cake. You need it to stay in one place until you've got whatever you necessarily need to do on it. Now what you can do is, if you've got one of these Perspex formers, you can use that for the thickness of your paste, but I think sometimes you need to do it a little bit thicker, so I'm not going to use that one today. I did on the other, but it's a little bit weak, is that. But we are going to cover the sole and the inner of the shoe anyway, which will help to strengthen it up. So I'm not going to roll this too thin. You're not making flowers here, you're making a shoe. Now I found when you're doing this on a cell board and that, what you need to do now is to take that off. It needs to stay on your board, but I need to roll it cornerwise. The reason for that, because this shoe sole is quite big, and if you don't, then it's not going to fit across down the shoe is bigger than the board is, so we just need that little bit of extra space here. And if that makes sense, you see what I mean, it's quite big, and if I tried to do it that way, you could end up with a thick part on your paste. So if you roll it cornerways like that, then you get the same thickness all the way down your sole. Now to cut it out, we use the cutting wheel. This is the type of cutting wheel you want. Don't get the cheap ones with the thick wheels on them. They're alright for if you're doing like a quilted effect on something or something like that, but not for this job, not for cutting out. You want the ones that cut out properly, that are fine cutting wheels. I missed a bit there, I just went off piece a little bit, round to the top, and then we'll go back down to the bottom and come back the other way. Now if you wanted to do a pair of shoes, what I would do is, the next one that you do, turn it over, because if you notice you've gone a little bit off one side. If you look at a pair of shoes and have a look at them carefully, you'll see that one goes slightly to one side and straighter on the other side. So we'll just take that away. So if you were going to make another shoe, basically what you need to do is to do that the opposite way around if you're going to make a pair to go together. Right, so we can lift that off now. Just pop that paste back in the bag. And now there are different formers that you can get. Now I have got some a polystyrene former here. The problem I've got with the polystyrene ones, with a lot of them, you need to be very careful because if you look, the heel falls short of the top of the former. So if you are going to use this, what you need to do is to pack underneath. Now the set that I've got here, I've got the shoe on, the other shoe in that I'm doing, this one here. Sorry. Like that. The heel depth is the right depth on that, if you can see that. If I just, where are we? There. If we do it that way, you can see that the heel is resting on the bottom of there, whereas this one is a bit narrower. So what I'll do is I'll show you on the polystyrene one because they are cheaper to buy. But what you need to do is you need to get some kitchen roll and roll it up to place on the bottom of your former like that, and then pop your heel on there. Now that's a bit better, that lifts it up that little bit so that it's going to fit better, so it's nearly almost level to the top of that. So I'm just going to take that away for now because I need to just move my sole across like that. Just going to pop that back on there, pop that way around. Whoops. Oh, I've broken my heel. Right, now then, fix it time. This sort of thing can happen when you're doing it, and it's only because I haven't let it dry long enough, because it doesn't dry as quickly in my workroom as it would if I'd put it downstairs. So really I should have dried this for a couple of days, but I only made that heel yesterday. So what I'm going to do is show you how to repair it. Once it goes on the former, and what you can do if you want to do is to put some sellotape around it just to hold it in place. So I'm just going to get a small amount of paste. I don't know whether you can see this. I'll just bring my camera up a little bit there. Right, just move that out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. I've got a palette knife here, and I've got some glue here. The flour paste is basically made out of the same substance as your glue. The glue is made from Tylo powder and water, and the paste is made from egg white, icing sugar and Tylo powder. Then just work it until you've got it down to that sort of consistency. So it's like a gum. And what you do then is you just put some of that on the part that's broken, like that. Then reattach the piece that's broken off, like that. Make sure those are in the right place, and then just smooth it down. Probably better if you put it flat down so you can get on it like that. And just work your paste in round like that. If you've got a bit of a crack, just take a bit of the paste and go over it and just smooth that in. Just take your time with it and spend time on it. the thing is, once you've done that, then you need to put it somewhere where it's not going to move again, because this is going to go on here. The heel is going to, the sole rather, is going to hold it in place once I've got that glued onto the top. So I'm just going to leave that there for a minute. Just missed a little bit there, just go over that. Usually you'd spend a lot more time on this. I'm just going to get some icing sugar on my hands just to go over that, just to dry that off. When you're doing things on camera for people to watch, you tend to find that sometimes you don't always make a good job because you're rushing things, but unfortunately, as I've noticed with a lot of videos, people don't show the faults that can happen and how to repair them. I prefer to do it that way. It's the way that I taught when I taught in college. At least that way, if something does go wrong, people aren't panicking and pulling the hair out. They know what to do if something does go wrong. Now normally I would leave that to dry, but for the sake of this video I'm going to try and use it and hope that everything goes alright. So what I'm going to do is next is to glue all the top of the heel like that. Just pop that back down there again. Then if I get my sole onto the former like that, and then if I just move that slightly forward, put the kitchen roll on there, then if I get the shoe underneath there like that, and then I can pull that up onto the top of the shoe so that fits on the very edge like that. So once you've got that on the former, then that needs to be left there like that. So it needs to put somewhere so that it can dry, and we're just going to take that away and put that to one side, and I'm going to swap over for this one now. Right, so once you've got to that stage, so the next thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to make an inner sole to go inside that. You can decide at this point what sort of shoe you want. On this one I've done the front part on it as an open-toed shoe. I'll come back to the pink one in a bit and I'll show you how I did that, because I can do that while that's still not dry on there, so that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the inner sole first. I need to colour some paste first of all. Now the inner soles generally are sort of like a sort of a brownie or a sort of a pale brown or a creamy colour. Wrong paste. Helps if I get hold of the right one. Where is it? That. Now the two colours that you can use, if you've got a brown coloured paste, you can use that and just put a small amount in, or there is one you can buy from either Wilton or from Sugar Flare that's called Ivory, which is a light brown. I use it when I'm decorating cakes, when I'm doing an ivory cake. I found it's the best colour to match your royal icing up to go with your sugar paste, and it's what the manufacturers use in their paste when they're making it. Might not necessarily be the same paste, but it's the same colour. Some colours do differ from company to company, so it's just a matter of finding the one that suits you. I've got some brown out. I've got some dark brown, so I'm going to use a tiny bit of that. so it'll give me sort of like a beigey colour. Just talk amongst yourselves when I'm doing this. I know you can't really hear what I'm saying, and you're probably on your own while you're watching this, but just in case, it does take a while to colour paste up. And I'm also going to use the same colour on this particular shoe to do the sole. But I think I'll do that in the next video, because this needs to dry properly, because I've just noticed that I've got a bit of a weak point at the top here on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the tape when I've done this, and then I will redo it. You will see it all in one go, but I have to stop it to leave it so that I can come back and finish off when it's dried properly. If you wanted to do a coloured shoe, I mean, you could do a, is it a Jimmy Choo that has the, no it isn't, that has the red sole on it. If you're doing designer shoes, I mean, there's a lot of designer shoes out there like Jimmy Choo and what's the other ones? Can't think of them at the moment, so I'll leave you lot probably know, probably a lot of women watching this that'll know all about the designer shoes. I only do this because obviously I've taught it in classes, and I did teach these shoes in my college class when I was teaching. I've retired now from doing that, so I'm only doing the videos. But if any of my students are watching, because I post it on our college website, and those that weren't in the class where I did the shoes, this is how you do them. Right, so I've got a light sort of beigey colour there. It's not quite all the way through that. The way to tell if your paste is coloured all the way through is if you cut it in half and have a look inside, and if it looks a bit streaky, which that does, then it's not all the way through, so just keep on kneading it until you get your colour all the way through. In general, mostly when I'm doing these videos, I've already got all the paste ready coloured. On some of them might have coloured the paste during the video, but unfortunately it just extends the length of the videos, so it can get a bit boring for you lot watching. And I have gradually got shorter with some of my videos by having a break and then coming back when I've finished doing whatever the first part I was showing, especially with flowers with a lot of petals on them. Right, so I think that'll do. So I'm just going to move that for the time being up here, and I'll come back to that in a bit when I've cut out the sole. So again, I'm just going to put a little bit of paste on my board and roll that out. Now, I don't want this quite as thick as I did before, and again I'm going to turn it round so it's corner wise, so I can get it the same thickness all the way down. If you get any streaks in like that, just give it a rub over just to where you've stopped and started with your rolling pin, so you can smooth it out nice and neat. And then again with the, now I need to make sure which way around have I done it. That way. You have to make sure you get it the right way around for your putting on your shoe, because otherwise it's not going to be right, is it? Right, so I'm going to cut the whole thing out. Depends what kind of shoe you do when you're putting your liner in as to whether you go all the way down, because some of them do stop just inside the upper part on shoes, so you need to decide that when you're making it, which way you're going to do it. Just take that excess off. Now I'm leaving it on the board because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a very small amount off all the way around to make it slightly smaller than the actual base that I've put on the shoe. And the reason for that is because it fits inside the shoe, so it wants to be very slightly smaller. Now quite often I put the back of the heel on before I do this, but I'm finding it's a lot easier to put your inner in first before you put your heel on. Then you can see what you're doing. Right, just take that excess away like that. Just going to clean up round the edges. So if you just run round with your fingers just to clean it up. So if you've got any little rough bits around the edge, right, we'll put that in a plastic bag. I always keep these little zip bags to keep my paste in, rather than I used to put all the colours in together and the bleed to some of the colours. So if you can keep your colours separately and put them in a separate zip bag, then you don't get that problem, and you can see where you've got your colours anyway. And the next thing to do is to make sure you get the air out of your bag. So if you roll it up with your paste inside before you close it up, partly close it, leaving a space at one end so the air can come out, roll it right up and then do the last bit. The reason for that is if you don't get the air out of your bag, your paste can dry out, so just make sure that you do that. Now then, I didn't get all my tools out before I started, and I should have done, because now what I need to do is to oh, there it is, that's my design tool. I've got one of these tools from PME, and they've got 3 different wheels in them. They've got this little wobbly one which I use when I'm doing little figures to do woolly jumpers and things like that, and then you've got the stitching wheel, and then you've got the thicker wheel. This is what I was on about with some of the cutters. They only have these thicker wheels in. They're not meant for cutting, they're meant for marking out, and these just pop out like that, and that pops in like that, and then your other one goes into the spare part, so you know where all your wheels are in there, like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to turn my board round. I'm just going to very carefully go around the very edge of the inner sole, just to put the sort of stitched edge round where the inner sole has been stitched into your shoe, which it would be if you buy good shoes. They're not stuck in, they're sewn in. There we are. So that's the stitching round the edge of the sole. So what I need to do now is, if I lift that up off of there like that, get rid of that off there, just going to pop that on there like that, bring my shoe back down, what I might do is cut the little front bit off here because it's going to be difficult to get that in there with that bit. So generally with some of the shoes they cut that up to that front bit off, so basically I want to take that off like that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in with the stitching and go across the front there like that. So now if I turn it over and glue it all over, pay special attention to your edges to make sure that it's stuck in securely. You don't have to do it all over, but as long as you've got enough glue underneath it so that it sticks to your basic sole. Right. So we need to start up at the top here. Oops. Slid down. See what I mean? Because I put the front on before I've done this, they can be a little bit tricky to get in. So we'll just make sure that that is attached up there. Should have some tweezers somewhere. Here we are. I may have to take some more off of that, I think. I'm going to have to take some more off of it. So I'm just going to take that off there. And where's my cutter? There it is. Take some more off. Oops. Go back in with the stitching wheel. Try again. There we are. You will go in. Just wants to lift over a little bit to that side, that's it, it's better. I'm not going to do it, but if you wanted to be really clever, you could put a designer label in the top there, just do a little oblong, and if you're good at writing, do the designer name in there of whatever shoe it is you're doing, particularly if you're doing it for something if they want a specific type of shoe. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the back on the shoe now, so I'm just going to put that up there. And I want my blue. Now I have made a template here which what have I done with it? Should be here somewhere. There it is, for doing the back. It depends what kind of back you want on your shoe. I mean, it's your shoe, you can do it however you want. You can design it and go as funky as you want with your design, and get carried away. There are all sorts of things that you can do to if you want to enhance your shoes as well. That depends if you want to spend money, because there are a lot of texture rolling pins and texture mats and things like that that you can use to do different things on your shoes. What I'm going to do now, I need that to be wider, so I'm just going to roll it this way. Not 100% sure whether I've got enough paste here to do this, but we will see. I might have to add a bit more paste into this. Don't think this is going to be, no, it's not quite big enough. I'm not going to take a risk with that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour some more paste. The colour that I've used for colouring this blue, by the way, is navy blue, which is this one, another sugar flare colour. So I'm just going to get some white paste out. And colour some blue. It's a pity that we can't talk to each other while we're doing these videos, because you could be asking me questions. This is what happens when I'm teaching in other scenarios, whether it's a private class that I'm doing or teaching at college. But usually I get questions fired from all sides, and like children I ask them to do it one at once. You don't need a lot of colour on, that's all I've put in. Just touch the colour just to add that in. And try and match your colour up. This is one of the difficulties of not colouring enough paste. Sometimes you end up with not enough paste. You can end up with more paste than you need, but there again it's better to have more than it is not enough. But trying to match the colour up if you're trying to add to it can be a little bit tricky, because you don't always get the right amount of colour into your paste, so you have to play around with it to get it where you want it to be. So just be careful of that. Sometimes in some of the books, when you're following instructions and that, they tell you how much paste, but I generally find sometimes that may not be enough, because you may not roll it out at the same thickness that they're going to roll it out at. So you have to take that into account when you're doing that. Let's have a look. Oh, not a bad match, is it? Not going to make a lot of difference, isn't that? But there again, I mean, it is away from the front of the shoe and it's near the back. So also as well, if you've been kneading your paste, sometimes your paste can dry out while you. I used to play pot with students for over kneading the paste, for the simple reason that it can dry your paste out with certain colours. Some colours are worse than others. I used to find that green and purples were the worst colours. It's something to do with what whatever they use in the paste to get the colours can be a bit of a problem. Just put a bit more white fat on there. Now don't shoot me, but I haven't got the colour all the way through. You see what I mean, where I've got a streak in there. I'm just going to need that again, because no point in carrying on when I've just told you to make sure that you've got the colour all the way through, is there? And then I go and use it with streaky bits in it, which we don't want in the shoe. But I mean, it's probably going to be covered anyway, because I'm going to do an inner lining for the back of the shoe as well. Basically what you're looking for when you're doing this is the sort of thickness of leather. So if you think about a pair of leather shoes, have a look at them, because a proper good pair of shoes is built up in layers. I know that because years ago, and I'm going back a hell of a long time, I used to work for Saxon Shoes, and we used to sell shoes. They were all handmade in those days, unlike nowadays where they come off production lines where a lot of it's not done by hand. They're not just glued. They weren't just glued together then like they are now. Everything was solid, and your shoes lasted a long time then. But there again, you didn't have the variety that you have now. But I have to say, I mean, I worked on the men's side anyway, and no disrespect to you ladies, but quite often if you look at men's clothing in comparison with women's clothing, there is a lot more work goes into how they're made. Although sometimes the prices can be more expensive for the women's than the men's. I mean, I used to work for a very upmarket company. I was the manager of the menswear department, but obviously I saw when stock came in, the difference in the stock, and I think that's a little bit, hang on, not in, right, I just thought one side was longer than the other there on that, but I think I might be wrong. The difference between the men's, I mean men's clothing, I mean particularly a man's suit or a man's shirt or whatever, has a lot more detail in it than a lady's have, you know, so yeah. Now what you can do here to shape your heel is you can take a little bit of a V out the middle like that, so that when we put it onto the heel we bring that round together and that shapes the back of the heel, the back of the back of the shoe. So I'm just going to stick those together, just blend that in like that, and then get the shoe on that, just pop that back into the bag. Now then, you need the shoe facing you when you do this, and just lift that further forward, turn that around. I'm having it facing me, but you can see how I put it on at the back. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go around the edge here and put some glue on. Down the edge there. I haven't gone too far down because you can always put a bit more on if you haven't got enough. But start off with your centre part of your heel like that, stick that on and then bring it round. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that round now so I can see what I'm doing, so you can see it all go together from your side. It's a bit easier for you to be able to see from the back what you're doing. There we are, so I get it in the right place. Bring your finger into the back just to make sure you keep that together. And this is where you need to spend a bit of time when you're doing these things, because things don't always fit exact. So what I'm going to have to do to get that to stick down there, I'm going to have to take a little bit off the side here. Bring that back up to where it should be in the middle. That's better. And now a good thing to do now would be to pack inside there with some kitchen roll or something like that. So I'll just get some kitchen roll and I'm just going to scrunch that up and put that inside the back of the heel there to hold it in the back up. and then take your side pieces down. I don't think I've got any glue that far down, that's why it's not sticking. Need some glue on that. That's why we're having difficulty. The thing is, when you put it on, you can't always see how far it's going to go down, so like I say, don't go too far down with your glue. You can always add it on afterwards, but you can't take it off. Go around the other side. Go up there, that. I'm just going to take some of that spare off there. That's better. I can pack the inside once I've got the outside attached. Same on that side. I think we need a bit more glue on there. Just take that off. If anybody's ever thinking about going into business and charging people for this is why you charge so much money for doing these jobs, because of the length of time it takes you to do it. And if you're not making any money at it, there's no point in doing it at all. And it's like any other job. Like I said to my brother the other day, because he's retiring now, but he's thinking about doing handyman jobs on the side. People like, last time I needed a lock doing on my garage. I couldn't get in, lost the keys, got a locksmith out. It cost £75 an hour for a locksmith, and it took him 2 minutes to do it, but it still cost me £75. And this is what you have to think about when you're doing these sort of things. What I've done with me cutting, now there it is. This is what you have to think about when you're doing these sort of things, you know, how much time it's going to take you to do it. I mean, obviously, the longer you do it, the better you get at it, the quicker you will do. So, what they say in business is time is money. And it is. Because if you're going to do this for a living, you need to make sure that it's worthwhile doing. No point in doing it for nothing. Right. So what I can do now is, once I've done that, you can pack it out now. So I'm just going to put some scrunched up kitchen roll in there, and then I'm going to get some more kitchen roll and put it down the middle, just to hold the sides up, because you don't want them collapsing on you when you've done all that work. So I'm just going to move that up, just roll that up, roll it up just loosely, because it will open out once you put it in. If I put that, put that underneath the kitchen roll that I've put at the top there, put that in there, and then pack that in again, and just pop that down in between there, between the sides. Make sure they're still attached to the side, and pop those. That needs to be a bit shorter, doesn't it? That's too long, so we'll just take some off the bottom there, just to hold that in place. Just needs to go down to the bottom there. Let's come away. Right, so when you get to that stage, that needs to be left like that now until it dries. So I'm going to put that to one side, and then I will come back when all that's dried, and I will show you how to do the sole on the shoe, and then we'll do something with the front. So see you in the next bit. Hi everyone, so I'm back again. Oh, hang on a minute. Put my microphone. Hi everyone, so I've come back again with I've dried my shoes out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off the front of the blue shoe, and then I'm going to go back to the pink one that I did, and we're going to put a full liner on that one, and I'm going to show you how to put a different back on and also the front on that one. So if we get cracking, I'm going to start with the blue shoe, which I've already got all the bits and pieces done on that. So I'll just get my bit of blue paste, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a sort of a bow to go on the front of the shoe, and then we're going to add a bit of glitz to it, because if you want to do sort of sparkly things and that, there's lots of things you can use. Because we're not doing anything that is going to be eaten, we can use non-edible things on it, and I do tend to use a lot of cheap brooches and things like that, very sparkly sort of things. In the case on this one, I'm going to use sort of a little button, which are these little things here, which have got a pearl centre with some diamantes around the edge. We'll just get one out and show you which are these. I buy lots of stuff like this from China, because you can get things like this quite cheaply for this sort of job. The only problem is the length of time you have to wait for them coming, but they do come in handy for this type of thing. But I also have a lot of brooches and that sort of thing, all sorts of different shapes and different designs and things like that to put on the front of shoes. Depends on how sparkly you want to go, but I mean, if you're doing something to go on a cake, then you can afford to be a little bit more glam. I'll just move that out of the way while I get this rolled out. So I'll just move those. Just put a bit of white fat on my board again. Don't really need all of this, but we'll roll it out anyway. Now there's different ways that you can cut out strips to do things like this. One of them is a strip cutter like this from Gem, and then the other one is, if you've got with one of these. This is a Tala thing I got from a wholesaler's, that you can change all the different bits and pieces on them to get different widths of things. I'm not going to mess about with that today. I'm just going to use the straightforward strip cutter. These do come in different widths of things, so it depends what you want to do with it as to which sort of width you're going to use. Get that thinner. You can go quite thin for things like this. So if we just get that on there like that, give it a good press. Just get your nail underneath and just pop that off like that. And if I go in with my cutting wheel across there, just to cut off the ends like that, and take all the excess away, just leaving us with the strips. And the advantage with this, if you're going to do a few bowls, you can cut straight across and get them all exactly the same length. We don't want anything too big for the front of the shoe, so I'm just going to cut probably about a couple of inches there with these. So if I just get these, so we've got 5 there. Just get rid of all this slot here out of the way. Pop that over there just in case I need any more. And if I bring my shoe back onto my board, we'll put it across that way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get my glue, wherever I've put it. Done it again, haven't I? This is because I've had to wait a day for these to dry to be able to finish this video off, so I apologise if I didn't get things in the right places. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of glue just on the edge of that there like that, and I'm going to bring that over and form a loop, and do that with each one of these pieces. You only need a little bit of glue on there. This is where I could do with a bit of background music, but I did record some background music on one of my videos, and then I was told by YouTube that I was infringing copyright. And funnily enough, the music that I used was from my editing platform, which so I thought I'd be alright. I mean, if it was on there, surely you could use it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a bit of glue on the front of the shoe there, and start off by getting my little loops like that. So we'll start there with that one, just open that up a little bit. Like that. Another bit of glue on top of there. You don't want to get too much glue on when you're doing this sort of thing. You can just open up your loops like that. There's a bit of glue on there anyway, don't need to put any more on that. One that way. And one that way, like that. Open all your loops up like that, and then what I'm going to do then is I'm going to mix a little bit of the paste that I've used to to do all my bits and pieces on the shoe to make the uppers and everything else, the same blue paste, and then mix a little bit of glue in with it to get my gloop, for want of a better way of doing it. I've got pink on the other side. I forgot to clean it off from yesterday, but it's clean on the other side. I'm not going to use that to put it on because that's a little bit wide, so I should have another tool here that I can use. I've got some tweezers there. We'll just get a little bit off like that. Put that into the centre, and then we'll get one of these little brooches and I get into a packet. Which way round are we? When you buy these little packages, don't make them easy to get into with them being clear. You can't see where the joins are. There we are, I've got it. We'll get our sparkly little brooch, and that can go in the centre like that. Then you can just readjust your bows then to make sure that they go around like that. So there we are. That's that one done. I'm going to come back to that in a minute because I am going to put a sole on this shoe. So I'm just going to get rid of that one out of the way for the time being. And we'll bring in the pink shoe. I'm just going to get rid of that paste off of that. That's it. We don't need that. That can go in the bin. Get rid of the blue paste and put that back in its bag. Don't waste anything because you never know when you're going to need it. And pink paste. There we are. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to put a smaller back on the back of this shoe. For a lot of people this might be a bit easier to do because the shape of it is an easy one to do if you haven't got a template to work with. When I find where I've put it, it's on here somewhere. So I'm just going to put that on there for a minute. I just get the paste out. What are we doing with it? Lost my template. Oh, no, that's not it. Must be here somewhere because I've just put it down somewhere. I need that. If you've got a dry heel, you're going to need that as well to when you do your sole, to work out what to take off at the end of the sole to put it on your shoe. I thought I'd put my template on there with that, but that's dropped off. So just a sec and I'll go back and find it. And I'm back along with the heel. It was right under my nose when I found it. You can guarantee whenever you lose anything it's not going to be very far away. So what I'm going to do first of all is, before I put that on, I'm going to do the inner sole for this pink shoe. The thing is, when you're making your shoe, you can put as much detail as you want into it. Sometimes I have actually made it all in white and then covered it all, but that's generally if I'm using textured things like snakeskin or a leather effect or anything like that. But I'm trying to keep it simple today for anybody who hasn't got a lot of equipment to do it themselves without spending loads of money. We don't all have loads of money, and as we know, sugarcraft can be a very expensive hobby if you wanted to do everything, because you do need a lot of tools. The tools are the most important thing. A lot of things you can do with templates, and if you get books for a lot of sugarcraft books have templates in them, so you can copy the templates out and do that yourself. You don't necessarily have to have lots of cutters. So we'll just measure that and see if I can get my sole out of that. Just about. Right, so we'll cut that out. So I'm going to do the exact same thing as I did before with the other shoe. Only this time it's going to have a full inner sole in it. Sometimes when I'm doing these things I think I'm not on this planet when I do things out of sequence, you know. If you're doing it yourself you can do it whichever way you want, but when you're showing other people it's a good idea to be on the ball, shall we say. I'll get rid of that. So I'm just going to take a thin slither off again round the outside of the inner sole, because we want that one to be slightly smaller than the actual sole that you've done for your shoe. Here we are. Take all that away. And then again with your design tool go around the edge and put your stitching in. That's it. Gone a little bit off at the top, but never mind. So if I move that over there onto that, and then don't forget the most important thing is to get it round the edge of your shoe so that it sticks round. And then you can do the inside to you don't have to cover it all, as long as you get enough glue on so that it stays attached and you don't get any air bubbles underneath it as well. That's another thing. It's like when you're covering a cake, last thing you want is air bubbles all over the place. So what we can do then is we just lay that onto the sole of the shoe. Like that. There we are. So the sole's on there. And the next job we need to do now is to do the front of the shoe. So again I'm going to use the same cutter that I used for the shoe, and then I've also got the template for the heel. So I'm just going to roll some paste out, make sure I've screwed my glue on. I used to play putt with my students for not screwing the top on the glue because they kept knocking it over and spilling glue all over. Then they're having to come back to me for a refill. I keep telling me you're never going to save any money if you keep spending it like that and keep knocking things over. But I have to say that I have been guilty of doing it myself as well, so I shouldn't really complain about other people, should I? But what we say is forewarned, forearmed. So I'm going to roll the paste out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out the heel part first, I think we should get them both out of this piece of paste. Let's just have a look. Now I might need to roll that out a little bit more for the front. Just get myself a little bit more width here. If you try your templates on your paste before you start cutting anything out, just to make sure you've got enough room to be able to cut them both out. So again, with the cutting wheel, this one is just like a half circle. So if you've got something that's round that you can use, then you can do this without a template and without a cutter. And then I'm going to cut that little V out the middle there, just to shape that. So take that paste away and take that piece out like that. And then if I get onto the front part, we'll cut that out. Oops, veered off a little bit there. Should be a little bit easier with these Perspex templates, because obviously they're not going to move around like a paper template would. There we are, that's that. So we'll take all those bits and pieces away. I'm not going to do the sole on this shoe, I'm just showing you how to do the front part of it. And any decoration that you want to put on your shoe, you could put on afterwards, you could do it straight away. It just depends on what equipment you've got. If you've got, like I have, a former to put in the front to cover the shoe, then you could decorate it on top of that and then just leave the whole lot to dry then if you wanted to. But since a lot of people don't have that, I'm not going to do that. Could do, but I'm not going to do. So, to get my shoe there, so I'm going to get my glue and just go around the heel part here. And I have gone a little bit offside on that one. I've just noticed it since it's dried. I didn't see that before, so I apologise, people. Just bring that together at the back there and just bring that round. Like that. Now, because this is quite small, we don't need to put anything in here to hold it in place. It should hold itself up on its own. So that's the back. So I've just turned that round so you can see that. So now we're going to do the front. And again, what you need to do is to find out where it's going to go. And it's going to go sort of from there to there. So if you just go round the edge of your shoe there, and same on the other side. And then I'm going to get the former that I've got. You could make something like this out of some foil. If you've got some, get some kitchen foil and just stuff it with some kitchen roll or something like that underneath, and just bring that back a bit further because that's a bit too far forward. Hang on, got that wrong way around. It should go that way around. That's why it's not fitting. That's better. So just bring that up to the edge of your shoe and then just go around your edges like that and just place it in. Now that needs a little bit of glue underneath there, so we'll just pull that away and put a bit of glue on the bottom of there, and that should attach. Just try the other side. Yeah, that needs a little bit of glue on it as well. We just missed a little bit there. So if you put it on the upper rather than on the sole, then you make sure that it's attached. Just check all your edges just to make sure that they are attached. There we are. It can come out a little bit there. There. Right, so that's the back and the front attached. So the next thing to do now is to go on to the sole on the other shoe. So for that, what I've done is I've made some paste up, which is a darker colour than the inner sole that I've got. So I've just used a bit more of the same brown that I've used for that, which was the dark brown from Sugar Flare. Just a bit of paste there. This is why it dries out and you end up wasting your paste. Like I said before, if you've got any bits of colours left out, you can make little plunger blossoms or something like that and dry them. Just cut them out, make a little pin prick in the middle so you can thread a stamen through it, dry them, and then just leave them on one side. And then when you want some flowers to do, just get some stamens, cut them in half, pull your stamen through a little bit of glue on the base, and that attaches your flower. And then you can tape those onto a wire, tape about 5 of them on to make some baby's breath or something like that. Right, so the heel part of the shoe, here it is. This is my other colour that I've used, which is a little bit darker. Because you've already got the heel on the shoe, I mean, you could actually put the inner sole if you wanted underneath the paste before you attach it all. It just depends on which way is easier for you. But as I've already made the shoe, then I'm going to do it this way. As I said before earlier on, don't forget to leave any comments in the comments below, or if you've got any questions about anything that I'm doing here, or anything that you'd like to know about getting hold of particularly things like templates for these. I have actually had a look because you could get these on eBay, but I haven't seen any on there. I got mine, the Perspex ones, I got them at the show at Birmingham, which is back again in November. And sometimes at the shows you get a better deal there because they have special offers on during the period of the show, so sometimes you can get them cheaper. So it's always worth a look if you manage to get to any of the shows, or if you're not in Britain, any just trying to work out which way round I've got it. Hang on, let me just turn my shoe round, make sure I get the sole right. So it's the wide. Yeah, I'll do it that way because I'm going to turn it over and glue it. I've left a little bit of the grain in the colouring of this because it's going to look like the plain leather that's gone underneath, because it would just be varnish with that. So if anybody's wondering why it's streaky, that's why I've done that on purpose. Not just because I haven't kneaded it in properly, but I did forget to mention that to you when I told you about it. You could do it all the same colour if you want. I mean, some soles on some shoes are coloured afterwards, so it would be just a plain block colour. And a particular famous shoe that has red soles, apparently the first ones that were done, what the designer did, was to paint the sole of the shoe with nail varnish, red nail varnish. That's how it started, and then it became a thing. So then it was actually used to do the whole shoes. After that, it became the sort of famous thing. So that's how the red heel sole started. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the heel on there, the dried heel that I made before, the white one, and work out where that goes. And I've made a mark across there, so I'm now just going to, whoops, dropped it on the floor. I'm just going to cut straight across there where that mark is, like that. Take that off. That should now fit, hopefully, fingers crossed. So where's my glue there? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue this all over now, rather than gluing the heel, because I don't want to handle a shoe any more than I have to, because I don't want to risk breaking it after all that work that I've put into it. because we haven't got anything to put it on to, if that happens. Now what you could do is, if you wanted to put the stitched effect around the edge, I would do that before you turn it over and glue it. Don't wait until you've got it on the shoe, because you don't want to risk damaging the shoe when you do put it on. So if you just get hold of the shoe now, turn that over, turn the sole over, and then just work your sole onto that. Once you get it on, you can stretch it into place once you've got the sole on, so that it covers everything. I'm just stretching that up to the heel. Just smooth that over, and then we can turn the shoe over. Now I've gone a little bit over there at the front, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use my cutting wheel just to take off the excess. So I've just gone a little bit over, so we can just take that off. And it's sticking to my cutting wheel because I've got glue on it. And I've got a little bit of an upturn on the shoe, so if you just bring it down so that's flat on your board, so that you can do this, take that off like that. That's it. And if you just go around with your fingers and just tidy that piece up, that's nice and flush with the side of your shoe. So there we are, there's your heel on it. Oops. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put that back onto my former now to hold that in place until it's dried. So there we are. That's one finished shoe with the finished front. We'll just adjust the bows because they've got a bit, you just have something with a round end, a brush handle or something like that, just to adjust them, because they've got a little bit squashed while I was doing that. That one's lifting up, just that one. I mean, the sensible thing would be to put your sole on before you start decorating the front of the shoe, but that's me. I'm always in a rush to finish things, and this is how things go wrong. So just take your time. Just to get it as you want it. There we are. So there's the shoe finished. And then the other one with the different back on it is there. So there you've got your two shoes with different backs on them. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you come back to see us soon. So look out for all my other videos, and see you in the next video. So take care, stay safe, and see you soon. Bye.